Hey, YouTube, so I'm gonna explain a little bit about 3D printing. Let me give like a 20-second background on 3D printing. 3D printing was started by a company called Stratasys. Stratasys created all these patents. 25 years later, there's a bunch of companies like MakerBot that tried to create their own 3D printers. And then Stratasys got mad. They tried to sue a bunch of people. They ended up just buying MakerBot outright. And basically everyone in the community hates Stratasys and MakerBot. So that's pretty much the end of the history section. Okay, so hardware. Let's talk about hardware. So 3D printers, there's a lot out there. The ones that you're gonna get are called. There's different classes of 3D printers. Let me first of all say that. But the only class that you're gonna get for under like $20,000 or like under like actually no, that's not true. For under like $5,000 is called FDM or FFF. FDM stands for fused deposition molding, and FFF stands for fused filament fabrication. They mean the same exact thing. All it is it's a 3D printer that melts plastic that's in the shape of a wire, and then it goes onto a bed and it kind of prints it out, and once it's done with one layer, the bed kind of lowers and it prints out the next layer, and so on until your print's done. So it's a very simple process. It's kind of like having like your laser jet, but you replace your ink cartridge with a hot glue gun. That's kind of what I think of it as. So that's pretty much the background on hardware. On software, so you're going to have software to control the machine. Um, there's a lot of free options out there. The two most popular are probably Kiss Slicer, so it stands for Keep It Simple Slicer, and then there's SLIC3R, that's Slicer software. So what the Slicer software does is you start off with a model, right? So like you download a model off of Thingiverse, which is an online repository for free 3D models of whatever. There's like everything on there. Where you create a model, okay, and then you put that model into a slicing software. So the model starts off as a .stl file, which stands for surface tessellation, whatever. And then it doesn't matter. So what happens is that the model is like this, and then you put it into the slicer software, and then the slicer literally slices it up into a bunch of little layers, and then outputs something called G code. And the G code is what the machine understands. And once you have that G code, you'll be able to output that G code to the machine using a kind of a command console. A lot of people use Pronterface, Pronterface, and that software communicates with the 3D printer through USB, and it'll send the G code, and it'll monitor like the temperature, and it'll give you like a bunch of manual functions so you can move around the machine yourself. So that's kind of the tool change or the workflow of 3D printing. You got to get your printer, you got to get two different softwares, slicer software and a like a software to communicate with the printer itself. So let's go into depth a little bit about the different options that you have with 3D printers. You're gonna go online and see that there's a bunch of printers that are called RepRaps, and then you're gonna see some printers that are called like Prusa and Maker or Mendel. Those printers are kind of like the old school 3D printers that started right after the patents died away. The RepRap community is what it was called. They created printers that could replicate themselves. So that was pretty cool, and that gave way to a bunch of people that want to create their own printers. So once it became a little bit more, the technology kind of solidified a little bit, people started making their own printers. So I think the first one was the Prusa, and then the Prusa had a few different iterations. So it was kind of this open source community where people like say I invent the Prusa, which I did not, and then there's I gave it online, I put the design online, and then someone's like, hey, I think that this would be an improvement. I'm gonna make another version of this. So these iterations kind of mounted onto each other, and then people made their own offshoots, their own spin-offs of Prusa, and I think one of them became like Mendel, and then there's like a Mendel Max, and so these are all different types of printers. You'll see that there are similarities in their construction because they started off from similar iterations. Later on, so fast forward another 10 years to like the mid 2000s and currently, a lot of companies have matured, and there's been a lot more investor capital, a lot more money put into a lot of the startups that are creating 3D printers. So a lot of stuff on Kickstarter, and there's a lot of machines that are a little bit more professional quality. So there's a lot of really good ones. Some of the ones that are popular are the Ultimaker. The Ultimaker is very good. The Maker Gear M2 is very good. Um, there's like FlashForge, I heard is very good. Type A machines, I heard is very good. And these are all brands that have a range of machines that you can look at. What else? When you're looking at a machine, so when you find a few machines that you like, look up a bunch of YouTube reviews on them. There's going to be some in-depth reviews on them. And also, I want you to consider the options that you have with 3D printer. So one of the biggest options I would say is a must-have is a heated bed. It's important to get a heated bed because if you don't, the plastic shrinks on the bed because it cools down, and then it can pop off the bed and then scrap your print. So do yourself a favor, get a heated bed. Let me think, what else is good out there? I honestly think that's pretty much it in terms of getting you started. I hope that this was helpful. I'm gonna put a few links in the bottom and help you guys out. Let me know if you have questions. All right, bye.